Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the program. It's Thursday, September 17th, coming to you live from our studio in Seoul. I'm Kim Mo-kyan. Before we get started, these are the stories we're following at the top of the hour. COVID-19 cases worldwide continue to rise as they surpass the 30 million mark. South Korea, meanwhile, is also seeing an increase, with 153 new cases reported on Thursday. The U.S. Centers for Disease Control and Prevention forecasts that Americans could get access to a COVID-19 vaccine by the second or third quarter of next year. And with businesses reopening in major economies, the OECD Interim Economic Outlook expects the global economy to contract by 4.5% this year, signaling an improvement from its previous projection. It claims South Korea will be the least affected by the pandemic. Now we start with the COVID-19 situation here in South Korea. The country reported 153 new COVID-19 cases on Thursday, climbing once again into the mid-100s. Local transmissions rose significantly to 145, mostly from the densely populated capital area. An additional 8 cases come from overseas, bringing the total number of cases in the country to over 22,600. 5 new deaths have been reported, with the death toll rising to 372. The rise in cases comes as new cluster infections emerge, with at least 10 cases related to a Kia Motors factory and 14 linked to a children's book company, both in Gyeonggi-do province. COVID-19 has now infected a total of over 30 million people worldwide. According to figures from Worldometer, the number of COVID-19 cases reported passed the 30 million mark on Thursday. The virus has killed over 944,000 people around the world. This comes 18 days after global COVID-19 infections surpassed 25 million globally. The United States has the highest number of COVID-19 infections, followed by India, Brazil, and Russia. The United States Centers for Disease Control and Prevention forecasts that Americans could get access to a COVID-19 vaccine by the second or third quarter of next year. The director of the CDC, Robert Redfield, said the vaccine could be ready by December, but it will take 6 to 9 months to make it widely available. Due to limited supplies, there will be priority placed on who gets the shot first, such as frontline medical workers, the elderly, and those in high-risk groups. However, he expected the level of immunity created from the vaccine to be some 70%, saying that wearing a mask is more effective for protection. The OECD revised projected growth for the global economy. Although output plunged in the first half of 2020 due to COVID-19 lockdowns, eased quarantine measures, and reopening of major economies seem to set a fuel a recovery. South Korea is projected to be the least affected by the pandemic. Our Ji-young helps us look beyond the digits.
The OECD Interim Economic Outlook released on Wednesday said the global economy is expected to contract by 4.5%, an improvement of 1.5 percentage point from the previous projection, with businesses reopening in major economies.
One is everything needs to be done to strengthen confidence. That's really, really key to the recovery and to make it faster and larger.
The revision is mostly due to sizable projected improvement in the United States and China. The U.S. economy is forecast to contract by 3.8% this year, an upward revision by 3.5 percentage points from 7.3%. This was helped by the Federal Reserve adopting monetary easing policies to boost the economy and by providing additional fiscal support. China is the only G20 country with an economy that is projected to expand at 1.8% in 2020. The report said that the upward revision is due to an earlier coronavirus outbreak and government policies enabling a quick economic rebound. Among all OECD countries, the South Korean economy is projected to be hit by the pandemic the least, with an economic contraction of 1% this year. That's a cut of 0.2% from the latest projection made in August, but is the strongest performance among the 37 OECD member nations and would rank second among the G20 countries behind China.
The government's fiscal policies and supplementary budgets, as well as its ability to curb the spread of the virus, has limited the downward revision in the economic growth.
The report said South Korea's private consumption in the second quarter of 2020 was hurt the least, adding that nations which experienced the largest cutbacks in household consumption saw the greatest declines. The same report said that further physical, monetary, and structural support policies should be maintained globally in order to limit economic uncertainty. 엄지영, Arirang News.
The U.S. Federal Reserve has left its interest rates near zero and signaled it would hold them at that level through at least 2023 to help the U.S. economy recover from the COVID-19 pandemic. In a statement released following a two-day policy meeting on Wednesday, the Federal Open Market Committee says it expects to maintain an accommodative stance until it achieves inflation of 2%. The latest decision reflects the Fed's new long-term policy framework, which allows inflation to surpass 2% target after periods of underperformance. U.S. Secretary of State Mike Pompeo says Washington would do all it needs to reimpose sanctions on Iran in the coming days. The comments come after the U.S. lodged a complaint with the UN Security Council accusing Tehran of breaching the 2015 nuclear deal. Our Lee Seung-jae has the story.
During a joint news conference in Washington on Wednesday with British Foreign Secretary Dominic Raab, U.S. Secretary of State Mike Pompeo said the U.S. would return to the United Nations to reimpose sanctions on Iran next week and would do all it can to make sure they're enforced.
The UN will take the sanctions that it always does. These will be valid UN Security Council resolutions, and the United States will do what it always does. It will do its share as part of its responsibilities to enable peace, this time in the Middle East. We'll do all the things we need to do to ensure that those sanctions are enforced. I remember.
Pompeo says he had triggered a 30-day process to reimpose all UN sanctions on Iran by lodging a complaint with the Security Council, accusing Tehran of breaching the 2015 nuclear deal. Pompeo insists sanctions should be reimposed from Sunday. However, 13 of the 15 council members say Washington's move is void as the U.S. pulled out of the nuclear deal 2 years ago, while diplomats say few countries are likely to reimpose UN sanctions. In related news, Iranian President Hassan Rouhani on Wednesday slammed the United Arab Emirates and Bahrain over the decision to normalize relations with Israel. According to Rouhani, the UAE and Bahrain would be responsible for any consequences resulting from the latest accord. His comments came shortly after an Israeli plane bombed Hamas targets in the Gaza Strip in response to rockets fired from Gaza while the normalization deal was being signed in Washington. Lee Seung-jae, Arirang News.
The United States is pushing to up its arms sales to Taiwan as part of an effort known within the Pentagon as Fortress Taiwan to establish a strong military counterbalance to China. Our Kim Hyo-sun tells us more.
Washington is reportedly set to sell as many as 7 major weapon systems to Taiwan as the Trump administration moves to intensify pressure on China. Citing multiple sources, Reuters reported Wednesday that the package includes mines, cruise missiles, and drones manufactured by American defense contractors such as Boeing and Lockheed Martin. It explained the latest plan is a stark contrast to the past practices of U.S. military sales to Taiwan that have been spaced out and carefully planned to minimize tensions with Beijing. The article added the move is not only in line with the Trump administration's ongoing tensions with China, but also as Taiwan has expressed its intent to buy American weapons, especially after the re-election of President Tsai Ing-wen early this year. Against this backdrop, a senior Pentagon official said Taiwan is moving in the right direction by increasing defense spending, but urged the island to do more. Speaking during a virtual meeting hosted by the U.S.-based think tank, Global Taiwan Institute, David Helvey, Assistant Secretary of Defense for Indo-Pacific Security Affairs, elaborated that Taiwan faces a real threat from Beijing. While tensions are mounting between Washington and Beijing, the U.S. Undersecretary of State is set to visit Taiwan on Thursday, during which he will sit down with senior officials. The visit by Keith Crack, one of the 6 undersecretaries in the State Department, will be the highest-ranking official from the department to visit Taiwan since the U.S. cut formal diplomatic ties with Taipei in 1979. Kim Hyo-sun, Arirang News.
Japan's newly elected Prime Minister Yoshihide Suga has reaffirmed his promise to bring Japanese abductees home from North Korea. During his first press conference after assuming the post, Suga renewed his resolve to tackle the issue so Japanese nationals abducted by the North in the 70s and 80s can return home safe. He also highlighted that the country's security alliance with the U.S. remains the foundation of its foreign policy, adding that he will seek to maintain stable relations with neighbors such as China and Russia. Suga, however, did not comment on South Korea. As the COVID-19 pandemic continues worldwide, traveling has become even more challenging. But with the help of technology, some safer ways to enjoy the blue oceans or experience famous landmarks have been introduced. Our Kim Bo-kyung brings us to the wonders of VR options.
I'm surrounded by the deep blue ocean stretching out in every direction, but I'm still sitting on the sofa. Through SK Telecom's Jump VR application, people can enjoy various traveling content with or without a head-mounted display. Its creator team has gone to popular attractions in South Korea that have been difficult for people to visit during the COVID-19 outbreak. After that, they made 360-degree VR videos for a fresh new travel experience.
People like light traveling content very much these days as it is hard to travel with the virus lingering.
The team also made VR videos of places that are off limits or hard to reach, such as Lotte Tower and Dokdo and Ulleungdo Islands. An expert says such travel-based VR content can capture the public's imagination, making it easier to commercialize VR technology.
Until now, VR video was just technology, but with people getting more interested in VR, we now have a chance to provide more realistic content.
The 360-degree VR video is not just limited to domestic tourist spots. People can even wander around famous locations from around the world, feeling as if they are really there. After stitching together the edges of the footage filmed by a multi-lens 360-degree camera, the VR video is ready, allowing people to enjoy traveling virtually to places like Spain.
I believe virtual reality shines, especially at times like this when we dream of traveling but we need to stay at home. People can at least feel as though they're traveling.
As more people buy VR gadgets and mobile carriers and gaming companies release VR content, these virtual experiences will soon be something everyone can enjoy. Kim Bo-kyung, Arirang News.
Good morning. Jeju and southern provinces are receiving autumn rain again, and it looks like it's going to rain anytime soon here in the capital as well. But the weather agency is actually forecasting the capital region will have a rain-free day. So Jeju will receive up to 80 millimeters into tomorrow with thunder and lightning at times, while the southern parts of the country will get 5 to 40 millimeters. Central areas could see spreading rain into the afternoon. Afternoon readings will be similar to yesterday, ranging from 24 to 25 degrees Celsius in most parts of the country. The southern region and Jeju will see rain into tomorrow, while we have beautiful autumn weather in store nationwide this weekend. But, if we pay a little more attention to our readings, fluctuations in temperatures will continue, while lows will drop to the mid-teens by the weekend here in the capital. So the mornings and evenings will get even cooler. That's Korea for you, and here's a look at the weather conditions around the world.
That's a wrap for us at the hour on Arirang News. We'll be back with more of the day's headlines at noon Korea time, so stay tuned. Thank you for watching and goodbye.